Hello everyone and welcome back to the Quake Pro League. It is week 9, we've only got 3 matches done and we've still got 4 more left to go, so we've still got plenty of Quake action to come as we've got our next matchup coming up next between Spart1e and cypher. And I spoke about it earlier, Flea, cypher tweeting that enough of the break, comeback time to sort himself out and get ready for QuakeCon. He's got plenty of time for it as QuakeCon is still approximately 5 to 6 weeks away. So what better time to do it to make a start now, to put in your A game every step of the way. But Spart1e is still trying to find his footing at the moment.
Yeah, indeed, Spart1e so far 0 wins to his name. He has managed to secure quite a few maps, so that is still promising, but nevertheless he hasn't quite managed to bring the party so far. But then again, the names he's gone up against have been absolute top contenders like Kilson, Razy, Base, Wenger and Avik, who are of course among the very best in the world. But then again, that is really what Europe is all about these days, right? Every single time we interview one of them and we ask about how they feel about those others, they're always like, well, it's Europe. Every single week might as well be a grand final. So Spart1e hasn't had an easy road, but that's just the nature of the game.
I mean, not wrong at all in the slightest. As Spart1e, I kind of feel like, again, like what I said back in the pre-show earlier on, Spart1e, these scores, he's getting the series scores in terms of lineups and not being able to bag a win at all. It doesn't reflect his performance so far. I think he's been performing very, very well. Or you could say a lot of these guys have been very close and deep, but just haven't been able to scrape any of his maps by. And it's a shame, really, because we know he's capable of a lot more, especially what we've seen in the previous stages as well. So hopefully we will see more from him coming into this matchup. But after the fact that cypher's basically just said, well, I'm going to sort myself out now and I'm going to start getting, even better than I currently am, even though I think he's still looking very, very good anyway. It's a scary thought, really. And Spart1e's probably thinking, I wish you said that after, our match, rather than just before, a few days before we go live. Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah, we'll have to see that. It's a very scary thought, but very excited to see what we can see from cypher in terms of his true potential.
I mean, let's not forget, cypher, when he really lives up to the name and that legacy that he's established, he can take down literally anyone. Just last stage finals, he ended up getting the silver medal, 2nd place, losing only against his long-time rival, friendly rival to say the least, Rafa. So cypher is an absolute monster to take account of, and Spart1e has got a phenomenal challenge out of him today. Now, that being said, Spart1e is just that constant black horse going into any tournament, right? When he is on, he is on. That railgun of his is absolutely filthy. He has this very unorthodox playstyle that can be extremely difficult to read. So when he's making it work, he can take down not just maps, but entire series from some of the best players in the world. He just has a bit of an issue with consistency and taking it home all the way. You very often see him get off to a strong start, but then in the second half of the map, it just kind of starts to deflate.
Yeah, that's what I mean, in terms of his scorelines we've seen in the past of his stage, it does not reflect what he's been doing and how he's been performing. It's really annoying, actually, considering what we know what he's capable of. But let's go to the picks and bans anyway, because I think we do have a lot to discuss it in terms of these map picks. So, okay, that's a lot more interesting than I expected. That's something I was completely oblivious to, because these two players, or both of them, have been very good on Awoken. They've been very good on Ruins, and they've had elements of, flair on Deep Embrace, but they've all been banned here. And it's like Spart1e actually is going to start off with Exile, and then cypher's now moving across to Molten Falls. We have actually seen cypher perform very well on Molten Falls a couple of times in the past, so that makes a little bit more sense going with that scale bearer. And to finish things off, it will be on Vale. But I must say, for Vale, cypher is very, very strong on that map as well. I do feel like it kind of, in terms of tide, does go in favor of cypher, but not by champion, just by maps alone.
Exile, for those of you who might not remember, was actually the map that Spart1e won convincingly last time he played cypher. Back then they played Exile, Vale and Awoken, so now it's one map of a difference, and cypher secured a 2-1 victory. But the first map, Exile, Spart1e won 17-9, so that was an impressive showing, incredible start to the series. Might be able to do it again, but I am not that convinced of those picks. Anarchy, not exactly a top tier pick when it comes to Exile, at least not one that is constantly picked. I think he's going to struggle up against the Doomslayer. And then map 2, Molten Falls, Visor, okay, solid choice, but Scale Bearer on Molten Falls, we've seen it earlier today. Once he gets that momentum going, he's almost impossible to stop, and that just leaves Vale of Pnath, where once again Galena is a very solid pick, but so is Ranger. So overall, I would say that Cypher has the better picks on the first 2 maps at least.
Scale on Molten has been the trend so far, not just today, but for a while now. He's been really, really strong on that map alone. I suppose with the Visor, at least he's got the piercing sight to keep his distance, keep chipping away at Cypher, but we know what Cypher's like. He's so aggressive and doesn't really give any kind of leadway for his opponent. So Spart1e needs to really, really be on form just in terms of his map awareness to make sure that does not happen. And he's going to be keeping on those hourglasses as well, which means that Cypher's going to be keeping his tabs on them, especially on that rail corridor and anywhere else in between around the heavy as well. So there's going to be a lot of options for Spart1e to kind of recover, use that piercing sight to make sure to keep tabs on where Cypher's going to be with that Scale Bearer, because the last thing he wants to do is get any kind of close range fight without any chip damage done, because then he'll be in deep trouble. And seeing the Eisen banned, it makes perfect sense for Spart1e. It is pretty meta at the moment, but for the Galena, it does mean he will have to give up a lot of map control on some of the occasions, just in case Cypher does get a little bit too comfortable in terms of the totems and overstack later on. So a lot of things to take into account, but I will say that I completely agree with you in terms of the Anarchy pick for Exile, just due to the fact that we did see a little bit of Anarchy at the very start, right at the very beginning when Exile was first released, and people were trying to establish the meta for that map in many different ways, but we haven't really seen him as much. So to see him like selecting Anarchy is different, and the slash ban is just for probably so that Cypher doesn't select him on Molten Falls.
I was about to say the same. Slash is a champion that's rarely picked. There's only a few players in the Pro League who can consistently put up good results with that champion. She's really only played on maps like Blood Covenant, which isn't in the pool right now, or Molten Falls, because there's so many places where she can build a tremendous amount of speed. And so Spart1e banning her, definitely was not for Exile. That is not an arena in which she excels, but rather for later Molten Falls that was no doubt to follow, knowing Cypher. Now it does look like both of the players are in the lobby and are ready to kick it off, so we will about to jump into the first map of the series, Exile. You said it yourself, Anarchy versus Doomslayer. I tend to favor Doomslayer. We've seen some players put up really good performances with that champion. Wenger, for example, really showed just how powerful and capable the Slayer can be on this map. Whereas Anarchy, like you said, initially it was a pick. He was picked fairly frequently, but he really has kind of disappeared from the meta. So especially strange considering that Exile was the very first map in this series, right? This is something that I might have expected, as a final map when so many champions are already banned or used. But to see Spart1e just come on out and pick him straight away, that's very interesting. So I do wonder if he has any sort of strategy going into this.
Yeah, I do feel like champions alone, like if you just not talk about champions and talk about the map picks in general, I do feel like it does go heavily in favor of Cypher. But if you're talking about the champions, it kind of makes matters even worse, really, just on top of things in terms of not just of countering or anything like that, but it's just that Spart1e just has to have a lot more caution and map awareness now for what he's going to be up against. Yeah, sure, the Anarchy has got the mobility and speed, but is that really required at this point on Exile, and especially with the Doomslayer as well? It's going to be extremely tough, and it's going to make things worse now for him due to the fact that now Cypher can easily trade a lot more efficiently if he does come up on the spawn, maybe on the back foot of one of his last engagements. And even with the last map, I would say it's pretty standard to say the least. With the Eisen ban, that makes perfect sense. But even with the Ranger versus Galena as well, it does mean that if he has top mega control with top heavy getting ready to contest both of these items, it's going to be even tougher because you can't stay there the whole time in case he lets Cypher's totems get out of control and overstack.
Indeed. Now, guys, no need to be patient any longer, and thank you for sticking with us. We have loaded into Exile and are about to kick off this series. If you think that Spart1e is going to take this one home, I want to see some parties in the chat. Now, if you are on the Cypher train, then make some noise. I want to see some Cyphers as well. This is an important matchup. especially so for Spart1e, since he has not been able to secure a lot of points in this stage yet, and is most definitely in the danger zone for relegation. And we're kicking it off on Spart1e's point of view.
What Spart1e is going to be up to in terms of his shenanigans here. Good first rail there from Spart1e. He's going to be very pleased about that. It's now just waiting for these next items to appear before their very eyes. 15 seconds left until this heavy is going to be coming up. Spart1e just waiting to see if he's going to drop down or come from any other position. He realizes that, yeah, Cypher is still on the top rocket areas, dropped down for that heavy, but neither player's actually gone for it as of yet. Cypher decided to go for the flank instead and has actually taken a huge amount of damage. Spart1e, though, does pick up the heavy in the meantime. Cypher does manage to recover and pick up that mega, but he's going to be thankful that last rail did not hit, because he would have been in deep, deep trouble otherwise. But speaking of devil, he did take another rail and has to try and to recover to the best of his ability. But Spart1e, that was a beautiful first frag there from the Swedish player.
Exactly what I mentioned before we went into this game. Spart1e's railgun, when it's on, it is a thing of beauty. By far his most renowned weapon. He's infamous for his accuracy with that thing. And so far, he has absolutely been making it work. 60% accuracy, while cypher hasn't even been able to get his hands on the rail yet. Oh, that was so close, and Spart1e just holds the angle. He knows exactly what cypher is going for, and he shuts it down real quick. Now, this is a very good start for Spart1e, but we've seen this before, haven't we, Lethal? Spart1e coming out swinging, getting an early lead, but then it all just slipping through his fingers and falling apart in the second half of the game. Beautiful mid-air rockets make it 2. Spart1e has to escape by using the injection, but this is a way back in for cypher.
Good stuff here by Spart1e. Just very, very difficult for him to try and hit those last couple of round shots from that angle. But the party started early for Spart1e, as already 2 minutes in, up by 3 frags, consistently making sure he has this height advantage to do damage with the rockets and these rails here. Looking to try and stay alive. It's so close between the two. Back and forth, these rails are coming out, but looks like Spart1e's going to say psych. He's going to go all the way back, actually go for the TP behind Cypher. Cypher's not silly though. He realizes that he was trying to get back behind him and was more than prepared to see if Spart1e was going to come out there and try and lay a little bit more damage along the line. But so far, no, Spart1e with a slight edge in terms of stack. And now being able to recuperate just a tad. But once again, Spart1e with that height advantage. And then again, Cypher as well. Being able to contest that heavy. Being able to grab it. But that was a great return rail there from Cypher to grab that first frag for himself.
Oh, and that is a tremendous amount of nail gun damage. It looked like Spart1e is finally missing some shots. And Cypher is at long last connecting them. He's currently only hitting 22% railgun accuracy, fired 9 times and only landed 2 of them. It looks like he is finally starting to connect with his target. Those rockets are on point. The rail for the escape. Spart1e gets shut down, and the Swede is definitely the one doing most of the damage. But Cypher is now doing a much better job at controlling the items and just denying these important resources to his opponents. Like, look at this, Spart1e. He's just waiting on this side of the map, hoping to get that injection up before he drops another frag. It won't be ready to boot, and that will be Cypher at long last getting a lead.
I don't know what's going on today, Flea, but the tracking from a lot of these players, it's just been rail central today, and some of the shots we've seen have just been disgusting, and Kilson's not even playing today, so imagine how much worse it would have been coming into this. It's now 4 minutes have passed on the clock. Cypher, fantastic way to bring this back. Now up 5-3, considering the horrendous start he had, has made a beautiful comeback now. Cypher though, great height advantage there. We'll have to give up that heavy sadly, but it doesn't matter as he does pick up that light and recover a tad from that health bubble. Still continuing to make sure he has this height advantage. Great direct, great rail straight afterwards. That is definitely going to put Spart1e on the back foot. And Spart1e's just hoping for dear life, but Cypher does not approach him, which he doesn't, as Cypher's actually just waiting to prioritize the Mega. Heavy is coming up in the next few seconds, and he's just seen a glimpse of Spart1e coming in, trying to contest that. Will be making that push, does have the advantage there, and that was a nice LG from Cypher.
Cypher's aim is just so versatile. Everybody, of course, knows how good the rockets from Belarus are. But his rail, his LG, everything is just so on point and feels so refined when you watch him do it. It's almost effortlessly. He gets onto that Mega just on time, but oh no, the rail actually knocks him, of course, makes it so he can't get the jump across, and Spart1e finishes it off with yet another one, but Cypher right back at him. This is just a rail fest. Spart1e lands 2, gets a frag, Cypher spawns, picks up rail, and does the exact same thing once over.
Great LG from Cypher. Oh, he's trying to do his best to get away, but what can you do at this point? At least with the Anarchy, you can use that mobility to try and get away. 4 minutes left on the clock. It's not going from bad to worse at all. I do feel like Spart1e's doing his absolute best to try and stabilize, but that's not going to help at all in the slightest. Cypher's got a massive stack. Spart1e's directly underneath him. He's only got the LG to work with, and he's going to lose that bout every single day of the week. And now Cypher barely lost any damage in that last engagement either, which means that he can just go straight for Spart1e again straight afterwards. Again, continuing to pile on such massive pressure, and done exactly what he did to him earlier on to make sure to clean him up as he was going towards that rail. And yeah, Cypher now up 10-4, 11-4 if he takes him out here. Spart1e though, as a bit of leadway, does get the heavy, but it's not going to change the fact that Cypher will get another frag to his name, catch him on the spawn, just barely missing that last rail, but he hits that second one straight afterwards, going through that TP. Great stuff from Cypher.
I felt that one. Same. That was a glorious shot. How in the world is Cypher hitting 47% LG against an Anarchy? I was watching this earlier, and Cypher just keeps climbing and climbing in terms of LG accuracy. I was going to call this out when he was at 41%, and then it just kept going up. 42, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is absolutely nuts. Now firing into the wall, of course, that will lower the accuracy a little bit, but this is absolutely obscene.
It really is indeed. You know, it's funny to say as well, Spart1e was up 3-0. The Rockets are just making matters even worse at this point. 14-4, 2.5 minutes left. And Cypher, for the last 5 minutes of this game, having the majority of control in this matchup. Gonna finish him off with the LG, but just managed to survive. But at what cost? It's not really matter too much here. Great flank there from Cypher. Good prediction, really, in terms of the path he was going to take. I was expecting Spart1e to go towards further up to heavy, but comes back with the LG, gets taken down again. And this is massively spiraled out of control, Flea.
I mean, it's the exact thing that we were worried about, right? Spart1e getting a really solid start, very quick 3 frags in the first minute and a half. But then Cypher makes it all work, steals one good item, gets away with it clean, and just turns it all around. Now Spart1e, that's his first frag in quite a while. But with a minute and a half left to go, not quite sure if he will be able to do it. Time is not on his side, and dropping that frag, I think, is going to spell GG. Yeah, there's just no more way at this point that Spart1e still secures the win. He started off very valiantly, but ultimately just couldn't keep up with the aim and the tempo that Cypher determined.
Yeah, it's a 9-day difference from what we saw during the first few minutes of this matchup. Cypher getting a huge amount of value from these items, just making it work every single time round. 18-5. Possibly 19 here has been very patient with that shotgun. And now he's trying to hit that 20 bomb if he can. Just to say to Spart1e that you've got absolutely no chance of coming back against me, even if you tried. And I feel sorry for Spart1e a little bit. He had a fantastic start, almost a dream start with the way he was railing. And then Cypher pretty much said no and just decided to do the exact same thing plus more with the positional advantage along the way every single time. You can see now kind of the LG again, his party just trying to get away, as that party did end quite abruptly earlier on. But now about 15 seconds left. Just waiting for him to potentially get this 20 frag. Cypher just missed a couple of shots, but you know what? He's already done the work. He's trying to hit him, even with the predictability of his movement, but it's just not going to happen as he does hit the last one. 19-5 in favor of Cypher, and that's what you call a start to the series.
Just practicing his defrag skills is what that felt like. Now, if we look at the damage, Cypher has 1,500 points of damage over his opponent. And Lethal, when we were 2 minutes in, I wanted to shout out that Spart1e had nearly 1.5k, whereas Cypher was still just at 600. So that just flipped like that. And once Cypher flipped that switch, he just absolutely held on to it. And I think that Spart1e barely got 1,000 points of damage in, or 2,000 points of damage in anything that happened since, which just shows how dominant Cypher was and how much he outplayed his opponent in this series.
I must say, the commiserations to Spart1e, he had a really good start. Always had positional advantage for the items, always prioritised the kill on some occasions just to try and get a bit of help for himself to then be able to extend the lead straight afterwards, to pick up the items afterwards as well. But it just seemed like it didn't really help out at all, which is, I will say, it's a bit of a shame there. But Cypher, yeah, you're right though, it was literally a flick of the switch. It was just absolutely disgusting, some of the things he was doing. But it's not even just from Cypher, it's been, you know, from all these players today. I don't know what kind of day it is today, I don't know what they've eaten before these games even started. But yeah, Cypher's going to be extremely pleased with that performance he put on there in the first map of the day. So Spart1e, I don't know how he's going to do to respond or retaliate in any way, shape or form, but we will be going to Molten Falls, as that first map was Spart1e's map pick, and we've seen a lot of good stuff from Cypher on Molten Falls.
Indeed, this is quite worrisome for Spart1e fans. I think we predicted this first one to go in Cypher's favor, and I also think we said that the map, or rather the champion picks for map 2, favor the Na'Vi player as well. Scalebearer versus Visor. I mean, yeah, sure, you can make good sense of where your opponent is at, but Scale makes so much noise that you should usually be able to have a pretty good idea of where he's at regardless. And if Cypher comes up with that bull rush, it's not as if you've got anything to really defend yourself with. You don't have a dual wield like BJ, right? You don't have an orb like Ranger. You don't have a turret you can drop down. No totems, no nothing. You're basically just caught with your pants down, and there's really nothing that you can do. Just brace for impact and see if you can still make anything happen. So quite worried when it comes to the champion picks for Spart1e this time.
Yeah, how many times will he get caught with his trousers down? That's going to be the next question. The Hourglass is going to be a major factor here as well for Spart1e with that piercing sight. He needs to use it as often as possible to, you know, create some openings here. So he's got a wide variety of strategies he can use with the Visor, but like he said, when it comes to that bull rush, one small mistake movement-wise, well, not even movement-wise, more positioning in terms of how he wants to try and approach this matchup, and he's going to be in deep, deep trouble. And when you're against a player like Cypher, where his combat skills are just remarkable, it's going to be very tough to come back from. And the one thing I think Spart1e is going to be a little bit worried about is things spiraling out of control. If he lets, you know, kind of Cypher get away with a lot of different bits and pieces here and there and create a shopping list of mistakes once again, then that is going to be it. And we've seen it do it enough times with Molten Falls.
Indeed, Molten Falls, it is a map that can be extremely difficult to stem the momentum once your opponent gets going. And I'm also worried that if Spart1e would fall behind early on, it's going to be borderline impossible for him to mount a comeback, because the speed is just so against him. Cypher has got more mobility just normally as Scalebearer, but if Spart1e would to catch him in a bad position, all he has to do is pull the butt rush and he's just out of there. He takes reduced damage when he is doing the charge, and there's no way that you can keep up with him when you are just playing Visor. So that is going to be extremely difficult for Spart1e. I think the key directive for him going into this map is do not fall behind. Play this cautiously, play it carefully, do not overextend, don't get caught in a bad position, because if Cypher gets one step ahead of you, you are out of luck.
Yeah, it's all about being 2 steps ahead and keep that chip damage going across the board, because like you said, if you're behind, that's going to be pretty much it. It's going to be almost curtains depending on how bad the deficit is. And make sure, you know, don't bully for the items too much. Like you rightly said, don't overextend. And already the chat has stated their opinion in terms of prediction. 92% here to the 8% of Spart1e. And do you know what? Can you blame him after that performance in that last game, as cypher was just playing out of his damn mind once again, as Spart1e uses the piercing sight straight away just to see where cypher's going to go, and it did help him out quite a lot as he was going towards that rail jump pad. It's going to keep him away with the snail gun, but it does miss that bull rush. And is he going to be able to come out on top of this? No, on 46 HP, and does clean up cypher and gets the initial frag.
That all came down to the difference in hitbox size. Cypher unable to connect with the bull rush, and then Spart1e brazenly going back up the bounce pad, knowing that super shotgun just destroys a champion the size of Scale. But Cypher very quick to tie it back up 1-1, will make it 2-1 as well. Spart1e kind of careless going up the bounce pad right there with 0 weapons to work with. And now he's already 1 frag behind. Now it's only 1 frag, and he's got 9 minutes to make that deficit up. But still, he's got to be so careful not to fall behind any further now, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Can't even get the silver lining of denying the heavy before going down. And that means that there's a very stacked and very fired up Scale that's going to find him once more. Same spot that he dropped that first frag. Luckily, he gets away this time, but for how long? Oh!
Okay.
Okay, tried to Goomba stomp him, didn't quite work out. As Cypher now 3 frags ahead already.
Yeah, and Cypher now just trying to stay alive so he can contest this heavy. He's already done a huge amount of damage, and fantastic rocket to complement the LG damage he did straight afterwards. We'll be picking up this mega. So I'm sure Spart1e just heard that as he was coming in from the rocket spawn. Good rails there from Spart1e. Managed to go 2 for 2 as he was pushing on in, and now Cypher is now trailing behind in terms of stack. But then I'll say that though, he's actually managed to recuperate just a tad. Heavy's come up in the next few seconds. Just waiting patiently for Spart1e to come in. Nice bull rush, nice rocket straight afterwards. Cypher able to stay alive in that last engagement, but look at this. Spart1e looking to see if he can go for the trade, but it's too little too late.
That was beautiful. The rocket behind him, sending him flying straight towards Cypher, who then just bull rushes in his opponent's face. My goodness, it's like you throw someone off the ropes in a wrestling match and then you just slam him down with the clothesline. Good, solid play from Cypher, and now when he's 6 frags ahead, just look at that LG! Spart1e, playing as the smaller champion, should not be losing out on these fights of accuracy, but Cypher's aim is just so on point that he almost makes it work. Now the rail still ends up favoring Spart1e. This is also good. Cypher was so early, at least 5 seconds ahead of the Mega when he dropped down. And that means that Spart1e not only gets the frag, but also gets a major item as his reward.
Yeah, we was having, you know, a thought-provoking discussion about how this should pan out and what Cypher needs to do, or sorry, what Spart1e needs to do, really. And the fact that, you know, we were saying he can't go too far behind because it's going to give too much, you know, it's going to be too much of an effort for Spart1e to trying to bring this back. He hasn't really got the mobility or anything like that, and now Cypher's already up by 4 frags. And you know what, it's 7-3, I've only just realised the clock, it's only been 3.5 minutes. Which is quite surprising, especially on a map like Molten Falls. Yeah. And now Spart1e trying to come back in this. Does have the piercing sights, which he's going to use now. Misses that rail. Maybe a little bit of a waste here, because I don't think he expected Cypher to come charging at him. But Spart1e, that 1 tick of damage for the LG would have worked out for him. But Cypher couldn't really get it. And now Spart1e's only 3 frags behind. Of course, first priority going to be to try and restack, but will Cypher find him beforehand? It's just like he looks like he won't be finding him at all. As now the Mega is still up, Cypher will be going for it, and the Heavy will come up in the next 10 seconds.
Good shots from Cypher right there, securing his lead for the time being, putting an end to that comeback of Spart1e. Nailgun probably won't be enough, as the bull rush knocks him down below and then mercilessly takes him down as he tries to come back up by using the bounce pad. This has indeed been an extremely active game of Molten Falls. We're already nearing the 15 frag mark, and we're not even halfway through the map. 10 to Cypher, 4 for Spart1e. Let's take a quick look at some more stats. Spart1e definitely losing out on both damage as well as item pickups. Cypher has got 12 majors and 11 small armors to his name, whereas Spart1e only has 6 majors and 7 normal armors. So that is really showing why Cypher is dominating the map, especially when you add on to that his starting stack being higher as well.
Cypher up 11 to 5 in this map. We thought the first one was bad. This is could potentially be worse. Good rocket set from Cypher, looking to finish him up with the LG if he can. No rocket damage do it? No, it will not, but good rail from Spart1e there to try and give himself a helping hand if he can, but Cypher's just like, no, you're fine. I've got the starting stack, I've got the LG. I'm going to be coming in straight on through and go 2 for 2 in terms of those next couple of frags. So still got 4 minutes and 10 left remaining. Cypher's still on the warpath, trying to get more of these frags out, going 2 for 2 with those last couple of rails, and big stack advantage going for this congestion of the heavy.
He's also out strategizing Spart1e, it feels like. Like Spart1e leaving the mega room, Cypher dropping straight back down and getting not 1 but 2 rails in the back. A little crouch after that one. Cypher clearly happy about this performance, and he should be, because that was a beautiful play. Now, the way that this game has been going, though, it's absolutely possible for Spart1e to still make a comeback happen, but he's got to start working on it sooner rather than later. Oh my god, the reaction time on that shot, that was pretty much instant. The moment Cypher exited the teleporter, he connected that frag, and at this point, knowing that Cypher can just instantly slow this down to a crawl and constantly evade his opponent, I feel like this is over and done with.
Yeah, this is literally done. 3 minutes left remaining, and even if he does take Cypher down, the trade potential is just unreal. He's got the bull rush as well, just to make matters worse for him. And that's pretty much has been the Cypher show. Takes down Spart1e again. 18 to 7 with a few minutes left of Molten Falls. It's just ridiculous. And now Cypher's just looking to find out where Spart1e could be. We'll find him. It's going to go for the mid-air, but it does miss it, but it doesn't matter. Great recovery there from Cypher. Does pick up those health bubbles, does pick up the mega as well. And doesn't really take him much damage in a lot of these engagements. In terms of overall damage, you can see that Cypher's actually got just under 500, and you wouldn't think so considering what we've seen in a lot of those fights is Spart1e has put on a lot of damage for himself. As, oh, I don't know what happened there, but the rail does come out for Cypher, but Spart1e does retaliate with 1 of his own. Picks up the heavy, but he's only on 12 HP. Needs to try and get away if he can. The mega is coming up in the next 3 seconds. He's going to contest it anyway. But Cypher is on his tail with the bull rush coming in to go towards that mega, and didn't really take too much damage from that rail, but good 180 rail there from Cypher. Very well prepared in terms of waiting for him to drop down onto that mega.
Cypher currently hitting 77% rail after that shot. Absolutely sickening. Also 41% LG, but he has been spamming and pre-firing it a fair bit. If you actually look at what he's hitting in these actual encounters, I think Cypher is hitting probably around 50%. Oh! Now that would have been something. That would have been one hell of a splatter if that had connected with Spart1e. With the super shotgun, did enough to break through the damage reduction. Otherwise, that would have been a highlight, to be sure.
It's not like Cypher's not fired many shots, is it? Let's be honest. He's fired 27 shots with the rail, and he's hit 77% of them. And Spart1e's not even a heavy champion either. That's just, again, pure filth once again. 50 seconds left, 22 to 9. And it really does feel it, considering what we've had to witness so far in terms of this massacre. Cypher's going to go with the bull rush, does get the trade. Yeah, you are right with what you said earlier, Flea. He's going to be extremely happy with his performance so far. We said it before, he mentioned that he's decided to, you know, come back from a little bit of a break, and is now going to start piling in the time, the grind, and everything he can in between to work his backside off, leading up to QuakeCon. And we've seen a few elements of this, especially in this series. trying to clean up with a few rails. I wish he didn't miss those last two because, you know, it doesn't matter too much now. 24-12. But yeah, the talking point is, I know it's something really simple, but just the accuracy of Cypher's rail, 77% with 27 fired. You know, we're going to have to massively compliment his adaptation over Spart1e throughout the majority of that game. And what much to say, really. Good adaptation, great aim from Cypher, great positional advantage all round, great item control, just great everything, really.
Cypher's just great. I don't think there's much more to add to it than that. Spart1e, he played till the very last moment. Props to him. Definitely kept his cool and focus in the game. But I think the odds were just stacked against him from the get-go, right? We had been theorizing about this before the series even started. Picks on map 1 and 2, they just simply favor Cypher, and tremendously so as well. Visor versus Scale, we saw it happen several times where, yeah, Cypher, he just pushes in. He doesn't have to give a damn because he knows that there's no abilities, no power from that other champion to do anything about him, nothing to really counter him. So yeah, even if Spart1e uses the piercing side and gets a good idea of where his opponent is at, Cypher is just like, so what? You know where I am, so what? I've got the stack advantage, I'm hitting like a truck. When you're anywhere near me, I'm just going to bull rush on and finish it off. So
you know I am. Great job, but it doesn't change the fact that I'm going to take you down straight after because I've heard it in range. And this is my next point as well, what you were just literally talking about there, is that he didn't use it to the best of his ability in terms of the piercing side. He wasn't keeping his distance as much, but that wasn't relatively Spart1e's fault. Cypher just knew the game plan was, you know, to be in close proximity at all times to make sure Spart1e's life is, you know, given an absolute living hell, really. And he had done, you know, 24-12, 36 frags on a map like Molten Falls. It's not something you normally see every day, but you don't ever see 77% after 27 shots, do you, Fleas? So yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
Now the final map, Vale of Pnath, this is the one where I think the champions are actually balanced the best, or at least the most favorable to Spart1e, right? He's playing Ranger, very strong pick on this map because Vale is probably the most vertical map in the pool. There's so much utility that you can get out of that orb, plus of course the burst damage. Get up close and personal, orb into your opponent, switch to the rockets, you take reduced self damage anyways. Really effective strategy. On the other hand, Galena is a top tier pick as well because this is a map where you can very easily stack up those totems, hide them in some pretty sneaky places, and then get that overstack going. So it's going to be important for Spart1e that he actively hunts down those totems to try and deny that overstack. But overall, this is a pretty standard matchup, I feel like. Common picks, neither player really having an obvious advantage here.
Yeah, this is, you know, in terms of champion picks, it's something you'd normally see every day. Normally any difference at all. Going into this final map it's been a little bit one-sided so far in favour of Cypher. I say a little bit, maybe a little bit more than actually, as you can see Spart1e just trying to stay alive with the MG, waiting for the next rockets to come up, but it doesn't matter. Cypher already first frag on the board. It's only been 15 seconds at this point, and already it's looking a little bit bleak here for Spart1e. But like you said, Flea, even though Spart1e may get map control at some point with item control as well, he can't just sit top mid and continue to contest these items because you can't let the overstack get out of control here. As Spart1e might have get out quite nicely there, but it's not going to change the fact that Cypher getting that second frag.
I really do love the use of the orb like that. That's something that you actually rarely see, even though it can be so effective. Spart1e just popping a mid-fight to completely get away from that engagement and steal away the heavy. Now, unfortunately for him, kind of fumbled the movement on the exit, and Cypher managed to chase him down, but that was a pretty inventive use of that ability, and I'm hoping that we get to see more of that as heavy spawns and goes in Cypher's favor. And now Spart1e using that orb again to great effect, stays alive, but that's all that he's really been doing so far, staying alive. It's almost as if he can, you know, count his blessings just for surviving, knowing how strong Cypher is right now.
Good first rocket there from Cypher. We'll finish him up beautifully with the LG, looking to see if he's going to be on that rail spawn, but he won't be. It'll be the LG stairs, but he's going to find out now after witnessing that LG's disappeared. It's best to try and stay alive, but Spart1e is the one with the... Oh, I was going to say with the height advantage, but Cypher just decided to go straight through the TP and make sure to clean him up once again. Up 4-0. It's only been 2 minutes here, so trying to find out what Cypher could do to extend this lead, but at the same time, what Spart1e can do to try and come back from this. But his first frag could be vital, just waiting for him to go through those rocket doors to see if he can take him out with the tri-bolt. He doesn't. And you can see here, Spart1e is still available. Cypher's taking a little bit of damage here. Spart1e just biding his time, waiting to see if Cypher does go through that telly. But he hasn't as of yet, as that totem will come down. The fight will engage. Spart1e does pick up the Mega, but both of them are such similar stack. Both of them had the same idea, but it's Spart1e coming out on top.
Good play from Spart1e. That is, I think, how he's going to have to approach it if he wants to win. Pushing in aggressively with the rockets and orb combo. That is what basically took down Cypher's stack in its entirety and allowed Spart1e to go and set up over at Mega, secure that item mid-fight, and then turn it around to get a frag. So the orb together with a super shotgun or a rocket is probably going to be one of the few things that I think Spart1e will be able to do, because he has been getting outclassed in terms of the damage department in any other way. Cypher already has 500 more points of damage, even though we're only 3 minutes in. Nice rails though. Can he find one more? It would have been a kill shot if he connected, but couldn't quite land it. Although Cypher is low, and this is an opportunity for Spart1e. He once again is in position to take away the Mega health. And this is still early days. Can absolutely still turn it around.
He certainly could. And the problem is, though, he's already let it go spiral out of control so early on. First rail's going to help Cypher a little bit here. Still, though, just making sure he keeps that top mid control, keeps the totems in check. As that was a little bit unlucky in terms of that totem placement, because Spart1e was actually coming in at the exact same time. So it wasn't exactly a waste for Cypher, it was just a little bit unlucky in terms of Spart1e making his presence known straight after he dropped that totem. But Spart1e's directly above Cypher here. He's just realised that now as he's going to try and work his way around. But not much Cypher can do here, as Spart1e does have full map control and can't contest the Mega or the Heavy as of yet. But you can see here, Spart1e's still doing his job, just making sure all totems are in check. There isn't any hidden ones laying about anywhere, but that was just a disgusting LG from Cypher, as Spart1e did have to drop down. Couldn't continue that path anymore. Drops down another totem in case he does teleport through. And Cypher misses a couple of rounds here, but Spart1e does pick up that Mega. Cypher needs to try and back away if he can, but he gets to 57 from that last rocket. Still tickling him a bit here and there with the LG. Gets that Heavy, and will he be able to finish him out? Surely he will, or would both trade him out. And Cypher's going to be happy about that.
You could tell that Spart1e did not want to just drop onto Heavy, because he was expecting Cypher to just hold the angle with the LG, but Cypher actually rocket jumped straight up. So unfortunately, a regrettable decision by Spart1e to drop down to that mid-level first, but that is a excellent rocket. Just before Mega spawns, gets a small armor to work with as well. Problem for Spart1e now is that even though he gets a nice frag like that, should get another one here with essentially 100% LG at point blank range, not something you see every day. But the items are essentially tight, and that is going to make it so difficult for him to get both, and that is what he needs to set up like a solid comeback. Rockets are on point. Yep, orb works nicely as well. But look at this, he's down to 25 points of health. Mega spawns. But can he even get to Heavy? Does he even want to get to Heavy? Nope, he just won't be able to. They're too close to one another, and Cypher denies at least one of them.
Spart1e trying to do everything he can. Let's pick up the light though. You could pick up the second if it's on spawn, which it is. Just of course prioritizing his hourglass in case Cypher does make a unannounced appearance in that rail room, which he hasn't. He's just holding top mid at the moment with those totems. Oh, that was a good first rocket. I think that was 77 leading in, and now gets that first rail. Will he get the second? Oh, Cypher comes out on top in that matchup. 14 HP left. Trying to recover as quick as possible, but now you can see that Spart1e is just going to TP through, goes straight in, does almost taking down 32 HP. Both players are available, but Spart1e comes out in that last engagement.
Chat didn't get to see it, but Spart1e messed up his orb and kind of clipped the wall, so he wasn't able to get to Mega first. Otherwise, he would have been the one to take that item and be in a much better position than he is now. So he's still down by just 4 frags. It is doable. It is still within the realm of possibility, but he's got to start kicking it up now. Good damage again, but falters just before Mega spawns, and that just helps Cypher out tremendously, because Spart1e doesn't have any weapons to work with. Only has the machine gun to defend himself with, and now has to run right back down where his opponent is just waiting for him.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh.
Heavy once more going towards Cypher, and now Lethal. Now we actually do have this rotation going that I was talking about, where there's enough spacing between the items that one player can really consistently run them both. And unfortunately for Spart1e, that player is Cypher, and I don't think he's going to give up that level of control anymore, at least not in any meaningful way.
Yeah, I don't think so either. The way he's railing at the moment, no, not a chance. As like I said, perfect item segregation as well. It's going for the heavy, going straight for the mega straight afterwards. Got plenty of time left, got positional advantage as well. It's just a matter of if he's going to pop in and say hello. He will say hello, but it meets up with the 120 from the LG. Both of them missed that rail, but literally Cypher stands it like a statue, gets the rail once again. 14-5. Yeah, this is pretty much impossible now. It's Cypher, you know, he did save it. He's coming back. And he came back really, really strong in this series, and the scorelines have just been absurd here. With a minute and a half left remaining, 48 from that last rocket, of 49, just sort of glimmer of that. But Cypher continued to pile on the pressure. Spart1e hang around that shotgun as he does rocket jump up towards the Mega. Will he be able to get away? Yes, he does, but let's be honest, damage's been done. Just too little too late for Spart1e.
It's a shame though, because Spart1e's aim is actually the best that it's been so far. 49% LG with 1000 damage dealt, 56% rail. Those are really not bad stats. Now he's actually up to 50% LG. But unfortunately for him, even with the added mobility, he just didn't quite manage to rival the damage when it mattered the most. Cypher is still doing around 700 points of damage more. And even though Spart1e's hitting hard, it's just not at a time where he's able to convert it into something consistent. And that is why for the first, what, 6-7 minutes of the game, it was just a constant back and forth almost, with Cypher just making it work a little bit better. And only then did one player get consistent control. If Spart1e had the ability, or rather the opportunity to, at one situation, just get a good, clean frag, and then tie both of the items into a rotation, this could have been a completely different game. But unfortunately for him, that didn't happen until it was almost too late.
And there we have it. Cypher manages to take that series clean. 3-0, and do you know what? Even after that game, I still can't get over the 77% rail we saw earlier on. It's we've seen it before from him in terms of like the high accuracy of Molten Falls, but not like that. That was just really, really rough. I'm just looking at the damage as well. 722 more damage. It felt like a lot worse than that, considering what we saw earlier on. And item control 12 for Spart1e, and a huge amount there for Cypher afterwards, but it really was just a Cypher show. It just looked like he was barely missing, always had that positional advantage, always did a great job just making sure his totems were in check. But then again, Spart1e did a great job as well, making sure his totems weren't getting out of control by any means. But in terms of map control, Cypher was just all over him like anything else. Played a very patient game, but at the same time very aggressive as well, just choosing his fights wisely and making sure he gets the best out of any situation there. Saw the gauntlet come out there from Spart1e. He knew he was pretty much done for there. But that's exactly what we were hoping for from Cypher. It seems like what he was saying in terms of coming back. It's a huge leadway now again for Cypher to try and continue his path of destruction, to get more W's across the board leading up to the last week of the Pro League, going into QuakeCon or the Stage 3 final. So yeah, great stuff from Cypher overall.
Yeah, now I don't have the updated scores at hand, but I feel like it might already be an inevitability for Spart1e that he is forced to play a relegation game, or at the very least, it's extremely close to it. So I think he's already going to have to mentally prepare for that and practice to fight for his survival in the league. But that said, there also was a lot to like about Spart1e, especially in that last map. His orbs were very often very clever and creative. I liked what he was doing with them. Plus, he made really good use of the rocket jumps as well, right? Ranger takes reduced self-damage from his own rockets, and so Spart1e made quite a bit of openings happen just by rocket jumping very aggressively and getting himself good positions. Unfortunately, it just wasn't enough to take down Cypher, but this was not a bad performance by any means, especially on some of the maps. I just think that, yeah, the champion picks, those probably undermined Spart1e the most. I really do think he was outclassed when champion picks on map 1 and 2 at the least. Map 3 was much more balanced, but I think that at that point, he already kind of had deflated and given up a lot of hope. So still, Spart1e a solid player, but this one most definitely went in favor of Cypher.
Yeah, you could see he was a bit deflated and demoralised, absolutely, especially leading into that last map where you were right, the champions were a lot more balanced, but didn't change the scoreline in the slightest. Cypher came out swinging, came out on top 3-0, but guys, that's 4 matches done and dusted already. This day's just gone incredibly quick already, but don't worry, we've still got 3 matches left to come. Next one will be Sib versus Chain, so don't go anywhere as we're back in just a few minutes.